And pricing is always talked about in this group. And we're going to cover the basics, give you a straight line to the strategy that's going to help you set up your pricing, help you close those events, and create those profit margins that you're looking for. That's why you started this business. So, owners overthink this very often, especially when they're in that first year of business. And what this reminds me of is when I started one of my first businesses, I had a business partner and we were going down tunnels of overthinking whether it was services or branding strategy, but the pricing aspect was something that he was really hung up on. And it was a software company that we started. And if you've been in sales or you've been in marketing, you know that a couple $100s is not going to make a difference in your ability to close deals. And that's definitely true in the mobile bartending business. It's all about your presentation, how you're talking with the potential client, making sure you're gauging for certain interests and trying to get a feeling of what their budget actually is. It's all about those things of creating trust, creating urgency, and just getting that information. And it's, of course, your branding as well. But before we get into how I do my pricing and the different options for pricing, check out mobilebarhub.com. I'm sure everybody's aware of it. There's free systems, videos, tutorials. This will be posted in the free resources section. And in the membership, we're going to go very deep into handling that first phone call. It's so important, especially with closing deals. And this is the reason why pricing isn't as big of a deal as you think it is, but all the way down to branding, your system tutorials, and then check out the Wheelo system. It's the done for you sales and marketing system, everything you need to run your business, send proposals, manage your social media. We got AI in there that now talks with our potential clients. It's a little bit scary, but we have dozens of mobile bars that are using it and closing deals. So go check those things out. So, first good approach here with your pricing is to kind of have a little benchmark on what an open bar actually costs. So, I worked at one country club where we did a lot of weddings, we did a lot of bar mitzvahs, retirement parties, all those things. And most of the time, people would say, we're going to have an open bar and ring up the drinks until we hit something like $4,000 to $5,000 was very common. I worked at a very upscale venue where I've seen as high as $6,000 to $8,000, but that was really over the top in terms of the services we were providing. It was a very sought after venue. I've seen open bars go as low as even $3,000 for large parties of 125, 150. And it's just very simple, cracking beers, maybe a couple beers on draft and some wine. So get an understanding of what the benchmarks are in your area and what people are thinking before they approach your mobile bar with, okay, this is really what I expect in terms of pricing for an open bar. So for us with our mobile bar, what are our pricing goals? So the first thing here is we really wanted to come from a value perspective. We wanted to provide the most value possible to that potential client, create an irresistible offer, and remain competitive in the market. We wanted to remove that friction in the sales process, make sure that they understood, hey, we can get to the outcome you're looking for, and this is a good value. And the second part is we wanted to make sure we're hitting our profit margins, the targets we were looking for. And then third, we really wanted to minimize the choices that this potential client had. I talk about itemizing your proposals and going deep into upsells. And I see mobile bars doing that all the time and basically just adding too much decision making and project management. And the people really start to think too much about the pricing. And that's where you shoot yourself in the foot. So our target profit margins, we're always looking to close on $1,750 to $2,000 in profit margins plus tips. And this is very focused a lot of times on weddings. We do primarily weddings, but we want to fill up our calendar with these events. And if you've heard me talk about our business before, this is a side gig for us, but we're still closing on $7,000 to $10,000 a month and only working 3 to 4 events per month. If we went full time with this, we would fill our calendar most likely with a lot more lower profit margin events. But for us, this is an ideal side business for us. We make a lot of money doing it. And that this needs to be your focus. Whatever your profit margins are, your targets are, it depends on where you're located, the income of the surrounding areas. If it's a low income area, if it's, we're in Connecticut, there's a lot of richer people down in the south part of the state compared to where we are. So we travel down there here and there with very, very good events. But yeah, this is the goal. We have profit margins that we really need to hit. And I talk about minimizing choices really quickly. You need to stop overthinking itemizing with your proposals or everything that you're sending out or talking about with your potential clients. You're giving them way too many choices on things that shouldn't even be choices. There's differences between upsells and being too focused on how many bartenders are there, how many tables you need to bring, upgrading them to certain types of flowers. This is what we try to get away from, is just providing that solution is the goal here, so they don't have to think about these things. This is why they're hiring you as an expert, as a mobile bar. You think about it with buying a car. If you were going to go to the lot and you're early on in your process, you're trying to get a gauge on what pricing is. We'll pretend like there's not pricing online and things of that nature. But if that car salesman started to immediately just talk about the different cars and you focused on one truck, and he starts giving you a list of options, like here's what you need to choose your tires, what side mirrors you like, you have 8 different speakers to choose from. And what you start doing as a buyer at that point in time is you start to kind of look at the different pieces of the car and you start to think, is that worth it? Is this worth it? Do I need this? Do I need that? And most importantly, you're going to leave the lot and it's going to be a longer buying process, and you're going to think about it longer. And then you're going to start to talk to other car dealerships that basically say, you don't have to choose all these things. We know what works best for you. Here's the car that you're looking for. The truck you're looking for comes with these speakers, these side mirrors, these tires. If you want to upgrade with this, whatever, this sunroof and things that are actually valuable, we can talk about that once you choose the car and once you pick the package that you're looking for. So do that work for them up front. That's so important. It's, again, not as much about the price as you think it is. So here's how we structure our pricing. Here's just one example. We're typically going to be around $5 to $6 per guest per hour. That's with us bringing all the alcohol, all of our mixers, the ice, everything we need to run the event. And again, we don't talk about side tables or flowers or all these different add-ons, because we give all of that stuff in each of our packages. We make sure that the potential client knows, hey, we do everything necessary to make sure there's not going to be lines. We focus on the service being quick, being very high quality, and we draw that line to the outcome of, hey, this is going to be an amazing event. Here's some past clients that we worked with that sound very similar to you. We worked with Angie, who was a town away from you. She had the same number of guests. Here were the 2 signature drinks she had. We had the first rush that came through, and it was an amazing experience. We have pictures. You can check that out on our website, things of that nature. So that's what we're focused on. But usually what we'll do is we'll have 3 packages that we present to them. And this top one is what I lead with. And at this point, this is a quote from last year, I believe. I'll go even higher. So I'll have an all-inclusive premium type package, and I'll lead on the phone. I'll say, here's our first package. It includes all top shelf alcohol. You can choose 20 different types of bottles. You'll have champagne, 6 types of wines. We'll bring top shelf liqueur. So instead of triple sec, we'll have Cointreau, and we'll really make it the premium package. It's only been bought one time, but it sets us up for the next level. And we'll say, here's what most people go with. It's going to give you everything you need. We have the full bar with high quality alcohols, the Tito's of the world, Jack Daniels, some Bullet bourbon. You'll have 2 wines to choose from, a red and a white. We'll have beer on draft, and we typically offer 2 beers on draft, and we'll get 1/6 keg, or we'll get a half keg of light beer, whatever. And that's what we're focused on, is we want to bring them down and say, hey, here's the really expensive package. Here's our mid tier. And that's usually going to fall between $5 to $6 per guest per hour. And we'll either go with a simplified package for the third option, or we'll offer up a dry hire. And with our dry hire, we're usually around $3.50 per guest per hour, sometimes $4. depends on the signature drinks and what we need to bring. And we do have a 1750 minimum, especially for weddings. So this is just one example. We've changed our pricing a handful of times. And what we do in this instance, I think for this event, we ended up closing this one. But the math, you'll see it's for 4 hours and 100 guests. I think I started to test out like, hey, if you book us and send your deposit in within the next 10 days, we'll give you that fifth hour for free. Because at the end of the night, not as many people drink. And I usually have some kind of a pitch like that. Or now we've moved to we raise our prices a little bit and we say, hey, if you book us in the next 10 days and you submit that deposit, we'll give you $300 off. We do that because it prevents us from having more conversations, chasing down leads, and wasting time on the phone. So if you book us in the next 10 days, you lock in your date, you have that date set up, and you can choose your package after that. But we'll get into deposits here in a second. One thing that really helps us, this came from experience as well as inventory control, is we have the same alcohol, the same mixers that we always carry. So we have, I just talked about a couple of the alcohols, the Tito's and Jameson, Jack, and we always have that on inventory, as well as soda, club soda, tonic, strawberry lemonade. We have a few others. I'm drawing blanks now, but you get the idea, as well as the liqueurs and things like that. So what that does is it helps us really guesstimate what the expenses are going to be. And if the crowd gravitates to wine, for example, or if they gravitate towards one specific type of drink, the tequila or the vodka, all of our bottles are around the same in terms of how much they cost. And there isn't a sunk cost after the event of, if you're getting some one-off type of alcohol, like, I don't know, Rumplemans or something ridiculous like that, you're not going to serve the Rumplemans again for a long time unless you're carrying it and people see it and it's a very niche type of alcohol. But this allows you to take all the alcohol, all the mixers, and carry them over to the next event, and that helps you with consistency with pricing and getting your feet wet with this process. And also with the sunk costs, the only thing you have for sunk costs at this point is the mixers that you opened. If you have an orange juice bottle open or wine that's been opened, we just take that home and we'll drink it ourselves. Then the fruit and then the ice is really the main sunk cost you have, and whatever's left over in the kegs themselves. So having a stuck inventory with what you're offering is what I really suggest. And a lot of mobile bars will have upsells for different types of alcohols. But what we say is, hey, choose this package. This is what we carry. If you're looking for specialty bottles, we'll go get them. But that's an expense that we add on to your bill at the end. But we're not going to create profit margins off of those bottles, because our profits come from just the service itself and then the inventory that we're serving. So that's a really good approach to have. And also, your pricing can change. So come up with your pricing strategy, stick to it. Whenever you get on a phone call with a client, have the numbers written down. And when they ask the questions of pricing, you tell them what the prices are, and you have the tonality of, this is what everybody pays for our events. It doesn't mean that you cannot change the prices in the future. Nothing's written in stone. And even for us, there's certain events where we charge more. There's certain events that we charge less. There doesn't need to be some stuck uniform way for your pricing across the board. If somebody wants us to drive 2 hours to a large wedding, we'll charge a little bit more because there's more risk involved with driving our trailer for 2 hours if we have more of those events. If we have a wedding that's close, we may charge $2,800, and it may be the same guest count at a corporate event, and we may charge $2,000 because people don't hammer drinks at corporate events like they do at weddings, especially if it's like a during the day networking type deal. So we are arbitrary with our pricing, and you can be too. I understand people want to be uniform and have the same thing every single time, but that may prevent you from closing deals. So get these people on the phone. If you present the budget and the pricing, and there's a little pushback and they say something like, this is a corporate event, it's only 3 hours, we were kind of looking in the $2,000 range. You can then present the package and just say, okay, we can do that. And we'll take away the one signature drink. So you'll have one. We'll take away these two options for beers. We'll take away the expensive whatever bottles you have. And here's a package that you can definitely make do with. We can create the entire experience for this corporate event, and we can match your budget. So that's also important. You can also not do per head per hour. So we used to not even calculate per head per hour. We would just have flat packages. You can do that, especially with dry hire. We've seen people that do their flat rate for dry hire, no matter what, they charge essentially per bartender. And again, I'm going to say not to itemize what your bartenders are per hour, just present them with the package, what your flat rate is. And you can even say whatever additional alcohol you have is on you. If you're looking for specialty mixers, we had this one event where this woman wanted this organic margarita mix. It was really good, but it was like $8 a bottle for, I think it was a liter. It was super expensive. You can say, if you're looking for that, we'll just add that to the total expense. That's an approach. But the way that we present it to the potential client is we just give them the three packages. Here are your options. We don't itemize. Again, we don't want that potential client to go down this rabbit hole of, okay, is a table worth this much? It's okay. Maybe we could see if they'll take away the flowers, or maybe we could see if they could not have a third bartender. Also, they'll say things like, well, should we add a third bartender and see if what that price is? And again, give them that solution. Everything that's needed to run that event in terms of service with satellite bars, give it to them. Don't make them think. Remove that friction early in the process and just have a straight line to your deposit link and get that process going. So let's get into deposits very briefly. And there's pros and cons to each deposit and each approach to this. And there's no right or wrong answer here. I've seen different opinions on not just pricing, but deposits. So we do a low flat rate. I think it's $250. And this is very rare in our community, it seems. But my whole goal here is once I get them on the phone, my close rate's very good. And I suggest going into the membership. We're creating those phone call videos. They're taking a little bit longer than normal because I want to get really deep and detailed with this. But once they're very confident in my services, that relationship is created. They know they can't basically screw around with me with getting paid the week of or the day of the event. I let them know, hey, here are your three packages. I'll send it to you in an email. And in there, you'll have that deposit link. If you act quickly during the process and within 10 days you book, we'll give you that break. But then you'll have your decision made. You won't have to have more conversations with a bunch of people, with a bunch of mobile bars, trying to figure out what's best for you. This works for you. All you have to do is submit this deposit. We'll lock in your date, and you can choose what package you want if you do want to upgrade in the future or whatever additional bottles you want. So that's what I'm trying to do, is have that transaction of money that signifies this decision has been made. I don't have to deal with this anymore. And it brings them closer to me, while other mobile bars are like, hey, you get to choose from all 50 of these type of alcohols and 50 signature drinks. And also our deposit is 50%. So we need to have all those answers before you submit the deposit, so we know what the 50% is. And that's why I don't love the percentage. That's why I don't love it. It's because you're now adding more choices and more friction to the beginning of that sales process. But the high flat rate, you can do the percentage or the flat rate. The pros are you get the revenue coming in, and you mitigate the risk of potentially not getting paid, or if somebody's going to screw around with your business, you do mitigate that risk. And there's the risk of the low flat rate of not getting paid. But we have never not gotten paid. And I'm going to reiterate this till the end of time. That first impression on that phone call and your tonality, what they think about you as a business owner, basically lets them know, hey, can this person be fucked with or not? Essentially, pardon my French, but it's really important. So, we can go way deeper into this. There's a lot I wanted to cover, but I wanted to keep this simple, wanted to keep it meat and potatoes. The final thing I will add is I see people posting their pricing list all the time, and I see comments quite often saying that's way too low or that's way too high. Or this is how we do things. You should do it like this. There's no uniform way to do your pricing, and your ability to close deals is not based on pricing. It's around your brand, what services you offer. If you're juggling fire and you're flaring bottles and you have uh, beautiful flowers for your garnishes, you have great cups, you have a whole, you go to the nursery and you buy a million flowers for your events. There's differences in terms of what the services are and what the perceived value actually is. So you can't really tell a person what their pricing should be. And also there's the factor of what your market is, whether it's low income, high income, whatever it is. So yeah, let's get into some questions. All these videos, by the way, all the past live sessions are in the free resources tab. So, all right, got a job planning the mobile bar. Cool. Washington, Oregon. Awesome. All right, so hit me with any questions you have. And it doesn't have to be pricing, too. I'm going to hang around for a little bit. I'm procrastinating going to the gym. I should probably go to the gym. All right. How did you go about validating pricing through your local area? So that's a little bit of a loaded question. So when we first got started in year one, we were strategizing our pricing and we were just looking at the other mobile bars in our area. And I had background with bartending events and things of that nature. So I had a gauge on that. And my business partner reached out to a couple competitors. And I thought it was a complete waste of time because I'm like, if somebody reaches out to me trying to get basically free consulting, when people are like, "Can I pick your brain?" It's basically saying, "Hey, can I sit down with you and basically take from you, and you can handhold me through all the work that you did, and I give you nothing." That's the mindset that I had. But he connected with one of the guys in our area, and he is an over the top service for mobile bartending. Like they have this gigantic rig. They have a staff of I think like 4 or 5, and the selection that they have is insane. It's an awesome business that they have, and they created the relationship. And basically, there was give and take from both ends. Where he was like, "We want to use you for a satellite bar. We'll help you get your feet wet. We'll pay you like the $1,200 so you can just start to, pour beer and get some pictures and all that stuff." And it was a great relationship. And he actually helped us with understanding basically how he was charging. And he was charging like 5 or 6 thousand for his events because he has a staff. He has a lot more to offer in terms of just people and volume, things of that nature. So that was really our first gauge, but we wanted to be more of a mid-tier value option. And in terms of validating our pricing, anytime you've been in a sales role or been selling services or products, uh, as long as you're competitive, that's the main piece of this. It's really all about what your branding is. Do these people trust you when they're talking to you? That you're not going to screw this up, even if you are a young business. You hear about that all the time with mobile bars, people screwing up events, and that's what they're after. Is they want to be able to trust you that the lines are going to move quick, and this idea of just a beautiful event, everything that they were looking for with their guests being happy, the drinks being great. That's what they're after. So painting the picture around your pricing is the most important thing. If you fluctuate between like 300, 400, even $500, it's really not going to make a difference on your close rate unless your whole value proposition is, hey, we're really cheap. We're $700 for our services and basically whatever other expenses you have. So, all right. Any other questions on pricing? Anything else about mobile bars, running the business? Another thing I will say that's worth noting is we used to run, uh, again, in all of our sales roles with selling marketing services or services in general, I have a proposal tool in Wheelo. I never use it. I just send them the information via email because it's the quickest way to do it. It's all in one place. And across the board with our sales teams, we noticed the beautiful proposal tools that basically makes like a mini website where you can send your proposals through. It made no difference on our close rate. So keep that in mind. Don't overthink your proposals either. It's just about being simple. It's about being very quick and attentive to your potential clients. And that's the most important thing. So, is there anything you added to your mobile bar later in the game you wish you had added earlier that helped boost profitability or helped close deals? So, there's two ways that you can approach adding value to your services. There's people that add the services for an upsell, so they'll close them on a lower number and then add them on the upsells. We include everything. Again, we lead with value with what we have. I would say we did everything pretty good right out the gate. I think having draft beer adds to that experience and being like a true bar. I think that's important. Just have a couple taps inside the trailer. The inventory aspect really helped us move quickly with not just pricing, but with keeping things simple and being able to package our deals and give people that value and us really create a good profit margin. That was important. Uh, Having really good garnishes. So getting a fruit dehydrator was a really good idea. I think dehydrated lemons just make the drinks look beautiful. And getting our cups with our logos on it was a good move. We went through Alibaba, a manufacturer. It's in the blog, by the way, on the site. We got them for 7 cents a piece, and they're super high quality. Things like that. All the flowers. I think creating a good visual. We did that from the get. We had our ivy backdrop, and we had a lot of fake flowers. But I started going to the nursery and getting some really good flowers for weddings and things of that nature. Getting really good pictures. But you can get fake flowers. We've gotten a bunch on AliExpress, and it just helps. Then we had a little satellite table that sits in front where we put flowers, put our business cards. It's a good little setup. People can get water from there as well. So we put tip jars out at all our events. I know that was a topic of conversation here in the group, but we don't really even ask unless the client is asking about it beforehand. Basically asking if is there gratuity involved here? Do we pay for that? We say no. We put out the tip jar, so we don't add the gratuity to our clients. But that's another way you can add a little profit margin. You can add a little 10% gratuity. But I think it's important to be transparent with that up front before you charge somebody $2,000 and then the day that they have to pay, you hit them with an invoice of, by the way, there's another $400 that you need to pay for gratuity. I think that works fine at maybe at a restaurant, but I think being transparent and not having surprises is a good way to keep your clients happy and get good reviews, build your brand, get testimonials, stuff like that. And that's another thing we're going to touch on with branding and marketing, all that stuff is testimonials are really important. So making sure your clients are as happy as possible, making sure that when they paid for something and they got your services, it was everything that they hoped for. You went above and beyond. You, over delivered on the experience, and that's vital. So, in Wheelo, we have automation 3 days later. It says, "Hey, it was amazing serving you. Would you be so kind to drop us a review here?" That social proof on your site, the social proof of just seeing that you have performed well for others is important. Have we ever set up for a public event? If so, what was your experience? Yeah, that depends on your state. We have done public events where we had to get 1 day licensing and work with the client location, things of that nature. But to me, in terms of the nature of the service itself, there's not much difference. It's just the licensing, in my opinion. But again, that just depends on your state. What is your advice if you haven't had a client yet? What do you tell a client? That's a good question. So I'm trying to think of what I was leading with back then. But I work with a bunch of mobile bars, just one on one, doing consulting here, and in the membership, this is a hurdle to definitely get over. This is why I always suggest running. Go to your friends and see who has some kind of a party coming up. Could be an engagement party, could be birthday parties, whatever. And having a couple of those and just running them at cost and taking pictures and getting those on your site and basically just show people, hey, we're doing this, even though these are just pictures. And that's going to help alleviate that pressure, is clients seeing you in action, seeing pictures, seeing that you actually have a little experience in this. But if you have absolutely nothing, I think it's good to just lead with transparency. Let them know, hey, we're a new business. We just launched this. We're closing on our first events. The value to you, we went a little bit lower with cost on our first 3 events. We basically said, we're going to operate at cost for these. You get a huge value. We have experience doing this. I was a bartender before, but if you're not a bartender now, you could say, we're going to keep this very simple. We're going to create a beautiful environment for you. Bring the trailer, have all the flowers, have great signature drinks, and we're going to focus on performing well with these 2 signature drinks. You'll have your beers and your wines. We'll make sure that it's going to be everything that you were looking for, and you get a huge price break from that. And then I would usually ask them, basically, just, it's good to ask for something in return, where they're like, what's the catch of us only paying X amount? And they'll focus on, well, they're not experienced. We don't want this to be a disaster. I always focus on, hey, we're going to take care of business when we deliver for you. And this is amazing for all your guests. The only thing we're looking for at this price point is just a great testimonial, 2 sentences to help us build our business. But there's definitely ways to build trust. We'll be covering that in the membership. The phone calls, that's why the phone call is so important. So